Welcome to AutoSave. I'm Camille Salazar-Hadaway, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Nick Andrade. Mr. Nick Andrade, how are you?
Doing good. I'm just super excited to get into this episode because this might be one of my favorite chapters coming into this game. It gave me some little goosebumpies when I played this part, so I'm super excited to get going.
I'm excited as well. Well, in this episode, we will continue our dive into Midgar with God of War for PS4. And on last week's episode...
Do you smell something?
Yeah, I do. Smells like... rain?
You ruined everything! I earned that fucking hammer! But now, everyone's gonna think I only got it because Magni's gone! It'll be a joke! But if I kill you, no one's gonna laugh at me! Oh, are you dumb? That your father's doing? Or did you get it from your mum? She's stupid and ugly.
Shut up! You don't know anything about my mother.
Oh, it's true. But I'm gonna get to know you really well. You're gonna be my new brother. Right after I finish killing your father! Whoops. I think I broke him. No. Stay back. No! This isn't over!
Brother, the boy.
Atreus.
You have to get into Freya quickly. There's no other way.
I think I broke him. I love them.
Honestly, there's that point where Atreus is like, "Rah!" And I'm like, oh my God, something's crazy gonna happen. And then he just like, yeah, and then he like dies basically.
Yeah, well, as you heard in that, it was an eventful episode as we fought Thor's sons, Magni and Madi, and we actually killed one of them, Magni, who was actually the stronger looking one that we made bite the bucket. Now, we also got the magic chisel, not used for art, but it actually helps us access areas. And it leads us to the rune that will take us to Jotunheim. Now, Modi came after us almost like minutes later after our battle with him and his brother, and he tried to kill Kratos, and then that led to Atreus getting very angry and pretty much almost going like rage. He got Kratos' rage. We actually saw what might have happened when he killed all those elves. He unlocked some of his god powers, but then he collapsed. And obviously that had for a very scary moment for Kratos, but it did allow an opportunity for Modi to flee once again. And Atreus was left almost dead. And we began today with us heading to Freya's home to get her to heal Atreus.
Yes.
So on this week's episode, we're covering Chapter 9, The Sickness, and Chapter 10, The Black Rune. So question of the day for you, Mr. Nick Andrade. If you were a god, what kind of weapon would you wield?
Ooh, interesting. I'm going to go with the dual axes. Like the dual... Ooh. Like the hand axes, like not pickaxes, but like they have just the one axe part. Like they'd be smaller, and I'd hold them both, and then I'd be like, cha, like an X when I attacked people. What about you?
I've always been obsessed. I think this goes back to my obsession with Soul Calibur as a kid. I loved Sung Mina's, who's a character in Soul Calibur, her staffs. And like Soul Calibur, like just the weapons collection is really awesome. So I would go with a staff of some sort, but like not just a staff, like a wooden staff. Like there has to be some blades on it. Maybe it like unhooks and then I could wield two of them. Like, yeah, something creative, something that looks really badass.
I thought like of all the answers, like the staff is the worst answer. If you have like,
what?
Because who wants a staff? Unless you're casting magic.
Gandalf the Grey has a staff.
Yeah.
Gandalf the White has a staff. Ultimate wizard powers. Who wouldn't want a staff?
I just thought like a great sword, a broadsword, a great axe, maybe a katana. I feel like there's so many different options over a staff. And I know that like you're a wizard, so maybe you have some sort of powers, but a staff in fighting isn't very intimidating. It's why the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I was a big fan of Leonardo, and Donatello was the smart guy, but he held a staff, and I thought he had the weakest of the four weapons, in my opinion.
Well, you know what? We're not Ninja Turtles, and I'm still choosing a staff. All right, let's get into it. As we said before, our mission is to bring Atreus to Freya, so we're heading straight for the Witch's Cave, next on AutoSave.
This is no ordinary illness. The boy's true nature, your true nature, fights within him.
I did this to him. Will you help me?
Of course. There is a rare ingredient found only in Helheim. The keeper that protects the Bridge of the Damned. I need its heart.
Hell.
The realm of the dead. Do you know it?
Not this one.
It is a land of unyielding cold. Fires cannot burn there, and no magic in all the 9 realms can create a blaze. As for the dead, your frost axe will be useless. You'll need to find something else.
Then I must return home. Dig up a past I swore would stay buried.
Who you were before doesn't matter. This boy is not your past, he is your son. And he needs his father. This rune opens the bridge to Helheim. When you are there, do not under any circumstances cross the Bridge of the Damned. There is no road back. Understand?
Boy.
Himalay. You must hurry. Through my garden, there's a path leading to my boat. Take it. Return home. Dig up your past. Do whatever you need to do. Just bring me back the Bridgekeeper's heart, and your son may survive.
All right. Now, right before this cutscene, we hear the horn of the world serpent blow. And Mimir says that someone has called the serpent. That gets me worried because who has the power to like call this giant serpent? I don't know. Maybe a god who is upset that we killed his son. What is going through your head?
My first thought was that it was Baldur doing that. But there's 2 gods that we have heard a lot about, but that we have not seen, which is Odin and Thor. So again, I think that's a very good case that maybe one of these 2, maybe Thor because it's Thor's son, is ready to go and is like, okay, we need to do some business, or they're trying to find something, which is again we've heard about Odin trying to reach Jotunheim before. Is he doing the same kind of task that Kratos is doing as well? It's interesting. I'm concerned, but however, I just want to flip it on Freya. I know that you haven't trusted Freya at all much so far. This to me seems like a very sketchy plan.
Oh, really? Now you decide to listen to your friend here who's been warning you of Freya.
Listen, she's been really nice to us, though there's no real reason
That's
that you
true.
shouldn't trust her, apart from we've played video games many times in our lives, so that we know never trust people that seems like they're trustworthy. But a heart in literal hell from the gatekeeper of hell that you have to go and retrieve seems like she needs it for something else, and she knows how to heal Atreus already. But she's just getting Kratos to do something. That's what it seems like to me in this exact moment.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. But, this is a moment we're really seeing Kratos vulnerable. I feel like he is obviously hurting because of Atreus and wants to do everything possible to make sure Atreus is safe. And I feel like vulnerability may lead him to an outcome that he isn't expecting. As per your Freya sketchiness, the sketchy mission thing. But I mean, it seems pretty easy. We need to get the heart of the gatekeeper of Helheim, which is literally hell, like Nick mentioned. And most importantly, Kratos has to revisit his past because his frost axe will have no power in Helheim, which means Blade of Chaos. Kratos. I love it. I was like super hyped for this one because, we know that what's going through Kratos' head. We know that he's thinking of the Blades of Chaos. So we have to take Freya's boat back home in an incredibly, very eerie and emotional scene. And it's pretty silent on this boat. What did you think of this travel?
This again, like right when we started with Freya, and then whenever you hear the when you hear that, like literally every time, like I almost get chills every time that happens. So something is about to go down, but then he has to revisit his past. You can see how conflicted he is too, where he really wants to. He has been running from his past forever. This is part of the reason why he doesn't want to tell Atreus who he is, because he doesn't want him to turn into, some sort of god that he hated back in Greek mythology. But the whole boat scene is it's gripping stuff because it seems like a movie, and it's so well shot. And you can tell like how deep in thought Kratos is as he goes, like there's literal silence. He's not saying a thing. Mimir is with him, not saying a thing as well. And you're just trying to like go through like what exactly is he thinking in this moment, whether it is retrieving something of his past or if he's thinking about Atreus and having to tell him the truth. We really don't know, but clearly something is just like eating away at him.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's kind of like the telltale heart, because we actually see when the boat docks, Kratos goes into his home and he, something's eating at him. It's under the floorboards. It's his blades of chaos that he unravels, and then he actually puts them, like he wields them. What is up with everybody keeping everything under the floorboards? What is up with that?
Well, I guess there's nowhere else to hide these things, right? But yeah, it's like a movie trope that we always see, which is hiding things under floorboards. Also, we see Athena in the boat too. Again, I think that's what's eating away at Kratos. Well, that's the thing, Cam. Like, what do you think is eating away at him? I
think that it's everything that happened at Olympus, like the fact that he killed all of the gods, and he was just so rageful that he actually wasn't. It didn't help his family in the end. His family was already gone, right? It just made him suffer the time. It takes a lot of time. It took a lot of games for him to kill all the gods in Olympus, but also the trauma, especially with his brother, so I think he just doesn't want to go back from that, because when he entered, the Norse realm, he's different. He wants to be different. He wants to have a family. He wants to restart. And that is what's haunting him, going back and seeing those faces. So when Kratos picks up the Blades of Chaos, we turn to the doorway, and who do we see? Athena's ghost.
There's nowhere you can hide, Spartan. Put as much distance between you and the truth as you want. It changes nothing. Pretend to be everything you are not. Teacher, husband, father. But there is one unavoidable truth you will never escape. You cannot change. You will always be a monster.
I know. But I am your monster no longer.
Oh, poor Kratos. But I think that really confirms what his fears are. He doesn't want to be that monster. What are your thoughts on everything else Athena is saying? Do you agree? Do we really think Kratos is a monster at this point?
I think I disagree with her statement at this point. I think he's grown and he's learned a lot. And I can see like the way he treats Atreus, even though he might be stern or whatnot, but like it just seems he's really shed his past and is trying to start a new life the best way that he can. So judging by everything that he's gone through so far, I don't think he's a monster anymore. I think he does things for a reason. I don't think he tries to instigate fights. Obviously, he's not not on a war path. He's just trying to lay his wife's ashes to rest. And whatever gets in the way, it gets in the way. And he keeps saying like it's no fault of our own that, these, Baldur and Modi and Magni are getting in our way. They're the ones who are instigating this. So I really think he has changed. I don't think that his rage is getting the better of him. I don't think he's a monster. I don't know if you agree, but that's how I feel so far.
I mean, okay, would you consider Thanos a monster? Because Thanos, all right, although like he kind of had a point, with his reasoning to do the snap, he killed a lot of people in his past and then wanted to kind of retire. And we saw that before his death. But like, I would still consider him a monster. I think the reason why it's hard for me to say, yes, okay, Kratos is a monster who pretty much went on a rampage, killing every single god on Olympus and all of their followers. I mean, he's kind of a monster, but then because we're playing as him and we see that he wants this redemption of like who he is, I'm like stuck in the in between because I don't think he's I don't think he's a monster anymore. But then, can your past really just disappear, or is that always a weight you have to carry?
I think you can atone for your past, and I feel like that's the difference. Like Thanos is satisfied with what he did, right? This is what he wanted. Kratos, I think he's. Yes, he hates gods, but I don't know if he regrets it or not. The extent that he went through, I'm not sure, but I just know that he's trying to be a better, whatever it is, he's trying to be a better person than he was. That's all. So I never saw that from Thanos, but I see that from him. Maybe it's me because he's the main character. I'm trying to just associate myself with him being like an anti-hero, but to me, I feel like he has changed.
It's like, is Kratos the villain? Are we playing as the villain?
Like Magni and Modi, like they're trying to go after him. Baldur trying to go after him. Apart from that, Kratos has only, destroyed, he's killed trolls and undead and monsters in his path. He hasn't really instigated anything else. It's not like he attacked Freya or killed Freya or something like that, or killed Mimir or whatever. So to me, it's like, maybe he has changed.
Yeah, true. Every time we say monster, I think of Gingy from Shrek. Oh, you're a monster. But I guess we'll agree that Kratos isn't a monster, at least not anymore. Next, we get to test out the Blades of Chaos and use them on some Helwalkers. This is like a walk down memory lane, but with a little bit of an update. How do you feel with, wielding the Blades of Chaos?
They feel so nice. I really enjoy this third person view of Kratos. Like this whole game, we'll probably get to it at the end of the series, but I really feel like everything just plays so well. And the Blades of Chaos, I'm thinking of like playing God of War 3 and playing this game. I much more enjoy how they feel in this game than I do in God of War 3.
Okay.
They feel more cartoony, and this one makes it feel more raw and real.
Yeah, it definitely goes with the art style. And that's the thing. I think when we first started the episode, I'm pretty sure when you hopped in, you're just like, where's the Blades of Chaos, right?
Yeah.
And it was just such a rewarding thing to actually wield them. And they didn't skimp on how it plays. It feels like we should be wielding these all the times. It's just so satisfying. But we have to go off to the bridge to use the Yggdrasil. Oh my God. Yggdrasil, right?
I don't really know how it's pronounced.
Okay.
We can use an autosave agreement here. We can just call it the Tree of Life. How about
Okay,
that?
thank you. All right, cool.
All right, handshake.
Handshake. Yeah, so we're using now this Tree of Life because we don't know how to pronounce the Yggdrasil or whatever it is.
You did it again.
So we're going to... I know. I was like, Yggdrasil? I don't know. But we have to head to Helheim. Now, it's a frozen world. Not even Odin has traveled here because it is too cold. Apparently, gods don't like the cold. And you know what? Like, I feel like for this, what is up with... My thing, okay, with the gods in general, in God of War, they are too picky. Like, I don't go here because it's cold. You're a god. Calm down. You can handle the cold.
Think about it though. They are like, let's look at them as like, I was gonna like compare them to billionaires, but maybe let's not do that. But I'm just saying, like, if you are a god and you get everything that you want, or you do everything you want and whatever it is, there are probably things that you want to say no to because you're a god and you can do whatever the hell you want. So that's my reasoning as to why they don't come here.
Okay. That's fair. So we know if Nick was a god, he'd do whatever the hell he want.
Yes.
And not necessarily for his followers.
Exactly what I'm saying.
But we can now break down the large roots that block certain chest areas because, you know, guess what? The Blades of Chaos, they have fire on them. And what can we see pretty much is hell basically frozen over. There's so many dead that it's overflowing. And Mimir says that hell is where the dishonored dead go, and Asgard is where you go if you're good. So that's like the idea of heaven and hell. And you have to get through hordes of enemies, but I mean, like, that's what you want because it's giving us that nostalgia of the original game, that hack 'em and slash 'em. And once you do that,
The Bridge of the Damned. And there's the Keeper, making sure the dead are really dead.
What is that he holds?
That totem contains a powerful source of magical energy, the very power of Helheim itself. But what you want is his heart. Just take it and we can leave.
How?
Start some trouble. You can do that, right?
just start some trouble. I mean, you could do that, no problem. It does seem a little bit strange that we have to kill, like, so we have to kind of take a life to save the life of Atreus, right? So we have to kill the gatekeeper to hell.
But that's not,
and it
that's
just
not,
seems a little
we
bit
just have to
convenient.
kill a life. It's like we have to kill the gatekeeper of hell's life, who is also transporting millions of souls into hell. It's like, maybe that's not a good idea.
It's like, then that means everyone would just go to Vanguard. Like,
right.
If the
what
gatekeeper
happens?
isn't, yeah, actually, that's a really something. This seems sketch, but it triggers a boss fight. Madagur Helson, which what a name, gatekeeper to hell, and you have Helson in your name.
It seems like a guy that like maybe clocks out 9 to 5, and then his buddy Grugor Helson comes in and works the night shift. Like, that's what it sounds like, especially his name. It sounds almost human, but hilarious as the gatekeeper of hell. I don't know. Yeah.
Helson, it's like, we're healing our son, but here's Helson. Helson.
Exactly.
And they just call him Maddie for short, or Matt.
Hey, Maddie.
Hey,
Maddie Helson, what's going on?
Maddie.
How's the Bridge of the Dam looking today? Oh, man, busy. Lots of souls coming in. Some murderers, so much
souls coming in. So what are you my thoughts on this fight? I know we're joking around, but it is a little bit of a tough one. It's just in your face. After, I feel like for this part of the game, I was going through the emotions of like revisiting the past and like, you know, Kratos kind of revealing more to us as players what his fears are. And then it's like boss fight here to interrupt everything. I was like, I'm not ready for this. I'm crying right now. Like, I am not ready for this.
Well, I mean, it's fun to use the blades in this situation. It's in terms of the boss fight, it's like one of the first ones where we see a lot of, apart from Magni and Modi, I guess, where we see a lot of things that we have to avoid. Like whether it's, I don't know, he kind of has a bunch of skill sets that we have to kind of dodge. I think he teleports while he's trying to attack you. Also, he has like this long range attack that splits 3 ways. He does it relatively often. He also has a move that kind of is a widespread one that starts at him and then kind of is like a circular movement. And there's just so many different kind of style of dodging here in this fight where it's not difficult, but it's challenging and it's getting more challenging. And I enjoy that aspect of it.
It is getting more challenging. The best part is when, like, for some reason there's a bird.
Who the hell's this bird, Cap? What is this thing? Do you know what it is?
It's hilarious. It's because it's just there. It's just there. It's not sending like any projectiles or anything blocking us during this battle. It's just there. And really, I noticed it during the fight, but then I think it was like once you actually kill Maddie, you like are walking on his body. The disrespect, firstly, Kratos.
Yes.
And then you get a real big glimpse of the bird, and I'm just like, wait a second. That bird did absolutely nothing during this battle. What is this for? And I'm kind of like scared at this point. I'm like, we're probably going to have to fight that later on.
It's so big and it stands there and it's just like a giant bird and it looks so scary.
It doesn't even look like a normal bird because it's like shaded the bottom. So it kind of looks like it's sitting like a person.
Yes.
And like the top half is a bird. It's so weird.
Just
anyways,
watching us.
Just watching. The bird's watching. Well, after we defeat Maddie Helson, we see Kratos rip the heart out, like, and disrespectfully walking on the corpse.
The gruesomeness of him ripping his heart, Maddie's heart out of his chest. It's like you can feel almost him ripping his rib cage open, you know, splitting open his body and grabbing that heart. Like you feel it, you hear it. And it was like, oh, that is so realistic and gross. And that was the first time we really have seen such really, really gruesome gore in that scenario. And he's covered in blood.
And we get a vision of Zeus briefly, which is, you know, Kratos with the blades is revisiting his past. What do you think of this with, you know, Kratos seeing Zeus again?
Seeing Zeus again, it kind of holds true to he's really reliving his past right now. And maybe all his mistakes or maybe his regrets as well.
Well, you know who shows up in the nick of time? Brock.
Oh!
He shows up to give us an upgrade to the blades, which is really great. And he gives them power of the winds of hell. So we could pretty much target wind traps and then use wind traps now. So you have 10 seconds to use the magic before it runs out. And then it transports the wind to another trap and then to move it further along. How do you like this mechanic of the wind traps?
It's annoying. I'll be honest. And especially you have to...
Really?
There were points where I couldn't find the next wind trap there. And I would like look. And there was times where like I would run to another point and then 10 seconds would run up. I'm like, where is this other wind trap? It's a cool mechanic. I just sometimes looking for the wind traps are annoying. That's it.
I feel like it's a classic mechanic. So for me, I didn't mind them because a lot of older games like in the God of War Prime era used this. It was like every video game had something where it was a timed mechanic. So it took me back, but it is still a very simplistic mechanic that is overdone. So I just wish that they did something a little bit different here. Now you face some more enemies, hordes of, you know, zombies, zombie dead walking people. What do you think zombies are called in like in Norse mythology? Like, you know, layman's terms for the dead. What would that be?
I don't know, because Helwalkers are the enemies, which is a cool name, but ooh, I don't know.
It would have to be like something very like very long and drawn out, you know?
I don't know. We have Maddie Helson as the gatekeeper of hell,
Oh,
so maybe it's a lot more simple than that. It's like a zombie walkies.
Maybe.
I'm sorry.
Maybe.
I have to come up with a joke real quick, and I can't think of anything.
Zombie walkies. We're keeping it. We're keeping it. But after you go through these enemies that we see, we go back to the witch's cave to give the heart to Freya. And Mimir and Kratos talk about telling Atreus the truth, this back and forth that they have. But then Kratos is still not wanting to. And I think, honestly, this was probably a bad time, Mimir, to bring up this conversation and have this conversation, because your boy Kratos just revisited his most traumatic past, and he's protective of that. He doesn't want to share that because he doesn't want to be a monster. What do you think about this, Nick?
There's two things here. I understand why he doesn't want to tell Atreus the truth, but we now know that with Atreus not knowing the truth, it's going to kill him.
Did I tell you that I have a son, too? It's been forever since I last saw him. At his birth, the runes foretold a needless death. The babe in my arms was so small, so helpless. I knew right then I would do anything to protect him, no matter the sacrifice. Of course, everything I did for myself. I let my needs, my fears, come before what he needed. And I couldn't see his resentment until it was too late. Don't make the same mistake. Have faith in him. I know the truth isn't simple, but nothing is when it involves your child.
It is a curse. The boy has been cursed.
Don't leave without me.
I will not.
I'm better now.
I see that. Is he well enough to travel?
For now.
It won't happen again. I promise.
You see that it does not.
We have this moment where Freya opens up about her own experience with her son, which is like, what? When she never told us anything about her son. But maybe that is why she wants to help Kratos so bad, because it seems like she may have a similar relationship with her son. You know, they haven't spoken in forever. There seems like there is some sort of history here.
Are you trusting Freya now?
At this point, I think I understand why she's doing, like why she's helping, but I don't fully trust her because she just told us she had a son. Like, she just did it. Like, why did she hide that? I guess, like, you could say it's because she's very maybe embarrassed with whatever happened with her son and her. But I feel like it would have been a moment that she could have shared so she could let Kratos know she understands.
Kratos, though, has hidden a lot of things from her as well. So it's not.
But she also
necessarily...
knows. But she knows who he is, right? Like, he's
Right.
hid with reason. Literally, he's being hunted down by gods with his son. So he's protecting his family. That's why he hid it. And she still knows, right?
I guess in this point of the game, after she opens up about her son, I'm way more like I'm already a fan of Freya, but I'm way more trustworthy of her because she is, saying something to kind of make Kratos feel better in a way that it's like, you have a chance now with your son. Don't do what I did. Type of thing.
Okay. All right. Is there anything that you want to add about chapter 9 before we go into chapter 10?
Now that you have the Blades of Chaos and you have the Hells of Winter, you can unlock a bunch of things in the Witch's Cave. There's a bunch of new items that you can get as well. So kind of search thoroughly there because there's a lot to unlock, especially with the magic chisel as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, the magic chisel. Or if you're like me, just continue on with the story because it's a really prime time. I feel like you're invested right now because of all the emotion. So we're going to head into chapter 10, and we actually need to go back to Tyr's vault since last time it didn't turn out so well. Now back to the mission. On the way there, Kratos finally decides to tell Atreus the truth.
I know I was never what you wanted, but after all this, I thought maybe things were different.
You do not know everything, boy.
No. But at least I know the truth now.
The truth. The truth. I am a god, boy. From another land far from here. When I came to these shores, I chose to live as a man. But the truth is, I was born a god. And so were you. Boy, have you nothing to say?
Can I turn into an animal?
Can you turn into an animal? No. No, I do not think so.
I'm a god. Mother knew? She was a god too?
No. She was mortal, but she knew my true nature.
I'm a god. Why did you wait so long to tell me?
I had hoped to spare you. Being a god, it can be a lifetime of anguish and tragedy. That is the curse.
Can I turn into an animal? Okay, sure, Atreus. After all of that reveal, it's like Atreus' first thing was, can I turn into an animal? I love Kratos' response with that, but there we go. We got it. We need to kind of break down this reveal because it is like I feel like the game's been leading to this point. So how do you feel like it was delivered? I guess, okay, before we get there, let's talk about actually what's said. So Kratos tells Atreus that he's a god from another land far from here, and that makes Atreus one too. And Faye was a mortal but knew, and Kratos was nervous that like how he would take the news, but Atreus here we go, has that very innocent question and doesn't seem to take it all that bad. So how do we think this moment lived up? Firstly, with the delivery, Kratos just outright saying it. And then for everybody, watching, like us players, how do we feel this lives up to this moment?
I didn't think he was going to tell him the truth right off the bat. That was just my first thing. So I'm surprised he did. I'm happy he did. But this was it was a sentimental, like innocent moment for me because Kratos is so afraid of telling Atreus the truth. And his answer about changing into an animal almost makes Kratos laugh in terms of you can see how innocent Atreus is. He really is a child who, isn't really thinking like, oh, who can I kill? Who can I destroy? He's thinking, can I turn into an animal? And I think it helps Kratos in this situation now know that maybe this wasn't such a bad thing because Atreus is taking it really well.
Yeah, it's like a god's worst fear was actually revealing himself to his son. And he had nothing to be scared of. And it seems like Atreus, if I was told I was a god, I'd probably ask way more questions about like what my powers are, like what can I do? But it seems like do we think Atreus maybe knew? Like just based on his reaction, I feel like he must have known something was up. Like we heard him in the game prior say like, you're hiding something from me, right? He's always suggested. So I guess like maybe with this reveal, he's like, oh, this is what he's hiding. Okay, no big deal.
Yeah, and I mean, kids kind of almost have intuitions like that, where they kind of know something's up, and maybe he might not be saying something, but I'm sure he feels a lot of things, and maybe that makes sense to him. So maybe that's why he's not surprised in any way. And this is yeah.
And also for Faye, being mortal, she apparently covers a lot of ground in Midgar.
She does.
She covers a lot of ground in Midgar. Like she was a warrior, like everyone knew her, and she's mortal, which is just like really badass.
I was surprised though. Like I thought 100% she was a god.
Yeah, same here.
Like I would think, okay, maybe Baldur knows Faye. Baldur's attacking because of that, but nope, she was mortal. But yeah, it's interesting. Maybe she was. Well, she wasn't a giant. She wouldn't be a giant. Anyway, whatever. I'm just thinking out of my head.
Now we go back to Tyr's vault, and Atreus starts to feel good about being a god. So it's starting to go a little bit to his head. And Mimir tempers him down and talks about using his powers for good like Tyr did. And Tyr was the god of war in Norse mythology. So there's a lot, we've been hearing quite a bit about Tyr. I think that's why. And he used his powers for peace to stop wars. When comparing him to the god of wars that we know, Ares and Kratos here, very different MOs.
And I think Mimir at one point said like he used speech and knowledge to combat wars peacefully and all that stuff. I'm like, wow, okay, an actual god of war that did the right thing. That's interesting.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Love it.
An actual god of war, or even an actual god that's serving the people. There's not a lot of gods in this franchise that serve the people.
No.
Now, once we're in the main chamber, we have to deactivate the vault's defensive system, which is pretty much a giant tiered ring with winds of hell as stones for each ring. So every time we gather more wind, we have new chambers to open, and then we have to go through different traps. Now, each chamber has a treasure. How did you feel about kind of going through these? Because we actually get to one chamber in particular that gives Kratos some memories. So how do you feel about like maneuvering this one?
This was fun because it felt like it was a break from everything we've done so far. It was just like puzzles and figuring out how to escape traps. And I think there was like a 1 point hordes of enemies that you have to fight that came out of the realm shift or whatever it was, those clouds. But other than that, like I enjoyed doing something different in this mission where it was kind of just to yourself. I could kind of just relax. I didn't have to worry about fighting so many enemies all the time. And I could just figure out these puzzles and how to get through it. I had fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I thought it also looked really nice. There's like these drapes with like drawings, or I'm like not going to explain it. We are not going to explain it, but like that have like these drawings of like people and everything like that. So I really liked looking at that stuff, and like just all the artifacts and like spider webs kind of looked cool as well. We also have like there's Atreus has to use his knife. There's like this vine trap puzzle as well, which you had a little bit of difficulty with, right?
Oh yeah, I couldn't figure out how to get to the. He's like sinking. It's almost like quicksand, right? Even though he's attached to the vines. But the puzzle that you have to do, you have to get. I think it's morning, night, and then something like that.
Yes, morning and night. Yeah.
And I was so slow. I died like 3 times because and there's a couple times where I'm like, I know I'm not even gonna finish this in time, so just die anyway, Kratos. It was an easy puzzle. It was just trying to get there fast enough that I had trouble with.
It's all right. We all have troubles every once in a while. But once you kind of go through this, you get it all unlocked.
On the day you were born, I made 2 knives, mixing metals from my home and from this land. One for myself, and when you were ready, one for you. Today is that day.
So I'm a man now, like you?
No. We are not men. We are more than that. The responsibility is far greater. And you must be better than me. Understand?
or you will be better.
The power of this weapon, any weapon, comes from here. But only when tempered by this. By the discipline, the self-control of the one who wields it. That is where the true strength of a warrior lies. You must never forget that.
Yeah, that was a really good parenting moment for Kratos. I think we need to put a checkbox for good parent, Kratos.
Agreed.
And he pretty much teaches this lesson about being a better man than himself to Atreus. And I think that's something that like maybe every parent wants for their child. So in terms of Kratos being a monster, no, I don't think he's a monster anymore. He's truly looking for the best interest in his son. And he's giving him, realistic advice now that the truth is out there that you have to be better than who Kratos was, through his lifetime. It's great advice.
That's his main goal is basically like, I've made mistakes in my past, but I'm going to redeem myself by making sure that you were a better person than I was. And it's really touching. I don't know. It's Kratos. I'm really bonding with Kratos, my journey with Kratos in this game. I enjoy he might be brooding and cold a lot of times, but he also has Atreus' best interests at heart, which is important. And I think he is, for the most part, checking himself in terms of like his potential rage that he could have. I think he really is quieting down his rage, I guess, is what I can come up with.
Definitely so. I will say one thing that we forgot to mention while going through the chamber before we get to this next part is there's this room that Kratos and Atreus goes into, and they kind of look at the artifacts in that area, and Kratos picks up a pot, and he's on the pot.
He's on the pot, yes.
That was so cool.
So good.
It was so cool.
And it's like very accurate to historical Greek clay pots too that I've seen in museums. Yeah. So it was really cool to see him on there, and he was not happy about it though.
We get to the Black Rune and it unlocks a map when Atreus touches it. How does Atreus just like stumbles on all this stuff? I love it.
Yeah, and he understands all of it. He knows everything. Like he's really smart.
Is that his god power? He's just the knowledge? Because I did not see that.
He also, I gotta say, he reads really fast. Like when you get some of those runes and they wipe away really quickly, and he's writing it down like he knows exactly what it said. But like there's like 8,000 bars, so it's like what? How are you writing so fast?
It's like, how are you reading? His power is to read really fast. Now we get to the Black Rune. Atreus unlocks the map, and you know what that triggers? It triggers a boss fight right after it. We have Grendel of the Ashes and Grendel of the Frost, and we have to fight them both at once. This game likes to throw battles our way, and taking on these battles at the same time. Magni and Modi was one of that as well. And you get some rewards with this. And when you head back up, it's more wholesome bonding between Atreus and Kratos.
Lemnian wine, the island of Lemnos, near the place of my birth.
Lemnos.
To a journey's end.
Really? Smells like rotten eggs. Is it still good?
Possibly.
Great parenting moment, I guess, making your son drink wine.
Hey,
back then, right?
They make you drink wine when you're like 8 years old, just as a test.
Yeah.
So
it's a test. I love how like Kratos, although this is 100% a good parenting moment, Kratos just like grabs the bottle back from Atreus. It's like, oh, don't drink too much. And I feel like that's like every parent, like, you know, that first sip your parents give you, whether it's like for the holiday dinner and like you're able to have like a little taste of wine. They always like grab it really back really fast. And then you're just like, oh, I didn't even really taste it, but okay, sure. Whatever.
It's also like we've seen this growth between the two after, you know, Kratos realizes that he could have lost Atreus. Now he's being an extra good parent. And they're talking things out, bonding, being honest with each other. And it's great to see because I think it was much needed.
It was definitely much needed. And that's pretty much it for this week's episode. We're ending it really on a nice high note with Kratos and Atreus. After the break, we're going to look more into the relationship between the two on AutoSave.
Father, why did you leave your home and come here? Does it have to do with the other gods there? It's just, you hate the gods so much. But Tyr proves that gods can be good. And you're good. You only killed those deserving, right?
Yes.
But who's worthy enough to judge?
Quiet, head. We are. We know better.
Uh-huh. Sounding more like your da by the moment.
Ready.
Ready.
Come.
Atreus acts in a way that Kratos wants, and he sees how Tyr treated others and believes gods should be good like Tyr was and be serving of his people. And although Kratos has done some bad things, ideally I think that's what he wants as well. And that's why he doesn't trust gods. I guess he doesn't trust gods because he knows what gods have done in their past and like what he has done in his past, and he knows that they're capable of doing lots of bad.
But he also does lie to Atreus here, though, as well.
Yes.
Where he's just like, yes, I've only killed, you know, and it needs to be. And nope, I'm judging people based on how good they are. No, that's not true. Kratos has done some crazy crap in his time. Especially with rage. That's the problem. Sometimes I think ideally Kratos is a goodish character, but he has a temper issue and he has a rage problem, and that gets the best of him sometimes.
Yeah, definitely has a temper rage issue, but I guess he can justify that he had to do what he had to do in order to make sure he avenges his family. But then are you really a good person if you're justifying all that murder?
Yeah, exactly.
And not only that, like he literally killed all the gods that the people worship. The whole religious beliefs around the gods, he's destroying those staples for the people in Greek mythology or that time, right? So it's like, yeah. So even though we're like feeling really high and like really great with this, you know, feeling of like, oh, it's all out in the open and like they're family and they're bonding. It's like, no, there's still secrets. There's still
secrets, yeah.
Still secrets. And I think, you know, it was kind of a cop-out for him. Yes, it was great that he was able to tell Atreus the like, yes, I'm a god. He did it in a very stern way that really doesn't really help in the long run because he is holding back. And I think that is what he's mostly scared of telling Atreus, the fact that he was a monster in the sense that he went on a rampage killing all these people, and he still has not told Atreus that. He told him a truth that he felt was acceptable rather than the real truth. And I feel like when Atreus hears that is going to be the real reveal that I think is going to maybe make Atreus not think so highly of his father.
Yeah, and but again, he's a kid, so would you want to tell your kid that at the end of the day?
I mean, he's a kid, but then he's also a kid that killed himself a lot of elves, who has shown signs that he has that rage. And if you're really trying to protect your son, wouldn't you want to tell him the full truth of how rage hurts your integrity as a person or as a god, and not build this false story that more aligns with what he thinks a god is?
I guess you could say, like, the way Kratos could handle this is to be like, I've done XYZ in the past. I have not been the best person, but I'm trying to be. And that's what I hope that you can be as well. Learn from your mistakes and grow to be a better person. That's all I could really say is advice wise, in terms of having to tell Atreus the truth. You don't have to fully go into explanation of, how many gods you've killed, but you can say, I've made some mistakes in the past that I'm not proud of.
That's too general. No, that is too general.
It's a
you have to
child,
be like, I've murdered, I've killed. He's a child, but he literally has God sending their, like, all these enemies at them, trying to kill them. It's not like he's not aware of death and not aware of having to survive. So it's like, I feel like this is a truth you have to tell him, especially because he's shown signs that he could do the same. And he has, by killing all those elves that, were enemies, but still. We're going to have to agree to disagree, because that's it for this episode. And I guess we'll have to see as these chapters go on. We're kind of going into the home stretch, what happens with this, if this will be the truth that Atreus knows forever, or if Kratos will reveal more. And maybe that'll happen next time on AutoSave.